Hello everybody. Sorry it has taken me so long to get this chapter out. There's been a lot going on and I've just been super busy and I had family come in town unexpectedly and so time is caught up. So I'm sorry, we're getting right into it. So we are on chapter 7. That is Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988, H.R.5210 P.L. 100 to 690, preparation for the police state and analysis. So let's just get right on in there. So Public Law 100 to 690, which was introduced to the 100th Congress as H.R. 5210, passed by Congress in September of 1988 and signed by the President on November of 18th, 1988, is the most serious attack upon the freedoms guaranteed the citizens of the Republic of the United States of America in our Constitution since the formation of the Federal Reserve and the IRS. The act may be cited as the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988. The following titles are contained within the act. Title I, Coordination of National Drug Policy. Title II, Treatment and Prevention Programs. Title III, Drug Education Programs. Title IV, International Narcotics Control. Title V, User Accountability. Title VI, Anti-Drug Abuse Amendments Act of 1988. Title VII, Death Penalty and Other Criminal and Law Enforcement Matters. Title VIII, Federal Alcohol Administration. Title IX, Miscellaneous, and Title X, Supplemental Appropriations. The Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988 can be found in most college or city libraries contained in the U.S. Code Congressional and Administrative News, Volume 3, 1988, with amendment and voting information in the Congressional Quarterly Almanac. I'm terrible at Roman numerals, so Volume XLIV of 1988, whatever that equates to in Roman numerals. The law looks innocent enough upon first glance, containing new drug awareness and treatment programs, more law enforcement, and much stricter penalties, and all to be financed with a $2.1 billion budget. Upon close examination, however, I discovered some really scary stuff tucked in where most citizens would never look. The act is some 366 pages of fine, very fine print on very small pages. It is tedious reading, as is all legislation. In fact, it was impossible to read until Nancy Batchelder, a volunteer on my research staff, enlarged each page on a copy machine. Could it be that Congress does not want the citizens to read the contents of their legislation? I believe that is exactly the case. One of the most frightening aspects of this legislation was the proposal to allow evidence found in a warrantless search. Congress said illegally obtained evidence is legal to use in drug cases. Months later, the Senate said no, and that portion of the legislation was removed, or at least that is what we were meant to think. The act leaves a loophole for court decisions on some mass searches, drug tests, such as school lockers, requirement for certain jobs, and an experimental program for those getting their first driver's license, Section 9005. Key words here are mass searches, drug tests, jobs, and driver's license. The courts have held that if the citizens give up any right by giving what is called implied consent, then they no longer have claim to that right. The dangerous implication here is that mass search could mean the search of every person in, say, Chicago, Los Angeles, or New York City. Get the picture? The proposed legislation contained a section that, if passed, would have taken away our right to trial by jury, hi speckles, trial by jury, and specifically stated that you could be held guilty without trial. How could any citizen or representative or senator even have had the guts to propose such a thing for passage into law in this country? Fortunately, it was removed by amendment. However, in some cases, a trial isn't automatic. You must request a hearing, Section 6480. Do I have your attention yet? $10,000 is the maximum fine for knowingly possessing any amount of a drug of any kind, even the kind that an enemy might plant in your car or home, Section 6480. Congress has asked for a study on the relationship between mental illness and substance abuse, Section 2071. Congress has recommended changes for involuntary commitment for mental illness, which echoes the Russian NKJV model, Section 2072A. The secret power structure considers patriotism and nationalism to be a mental illness. We're looking at a lot of that right now. Congress has asked for an evaluation of the appropriateness of administering health service programs in conjunction with biomedical and behavioral research. In other words, mind control on a grand scale. That's Section 2073A. The Congress ordered in this act that the Attorney General shall study the feasibility of prosecuting federal drug-related offenses in a matter alternative or supplemental to the current criminal justice system. This is the beginning of a police state, Section 6293. The act states that anyone with intent to obstruct or harass the harvesting of timber on public lands can get 1 year in jail or up to 10 years if the resulting damage exceeds $10,000. Tree spiking is specifically named. What is this doing in a drug law? It's in there because Congress wanted to make an end run around environmental groups and give the timber away. Section 6254/1864. Herbicides are used for aerial coca eradication with no consideration of what it might do to the humans or animals being sprayed. After a year of spraying, the President shall determine if such use is harmful to environment or health and shall file a report. Section 4202. The Act mandates the establishment of a world currency control system. This would be an international database to analyze currency transactions filed by member countries in order to monitor large $10,000 or more transfers. To encourage teamwork, prohibit non-cooperative foreign countries from participating in any U.S. dollar clearing or wire transfer system, or from maintaining any financial accounts in the U.S. Section 4701. The Act gives the Secretary of the Treasury power to require any transaction records from any domestic financial institution, even those not part of the bank, savings, and loan system, as well as information on all of the persons involved. Make sure you understand what this means to you personally. This is a police state. Section 6184 and 5326. Alert, alert. The Constitution of the United States, Article 1, Section 9, Paragraph 2, states the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion the public safety may require it. Public Law 100 to 690, Section 7323, provides for a special committee on habeas corpus review of capital sentences, appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States. The purpose of the special committee is to recommend to the Chief Justice of the United States, who will forward the recommendation to the chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary of the Senate, a proposal of a bill to modify federal habeas corpus procedure. Quotes from P.L. 100 to 690. This bill to modify habeas corpus procedure must be reported with or without recommendation by the Committee on the Judiciary of the Senate by the end of the 60th day of session. After the submission of the reporter or the bill must be automatically placed on the appropriate calendar of the Senate. Once the habeas corpus bill is on the calendar, it is not debatable, it is not subject to a motion to postpone. Reconsideration of the vote by which the motion is agreed to or disregarded to shall not be in order under this Act. Only one motion in the Senate shall be in order, pursuant to this paragraph, and such motion shall be decided by a roll call vote. Sit up and take notice. Section 7323 states that this habeas corpus legislation is enacted by Congress as an exercise of the rulemaking power of the Senate, and as such it is deemed a part of the rules of the Senate. Can you believe this treason? Chapter 33 of Title 28, United States Code, is amended by adding at the end thereof Section 540, which states that the Attorney General and the Federal Bureau of Investigation may investigate felonious killings of officials and employees of a state or political subdivision when such investigation is requested by the head of the agency employing the official or employee killed, and under such guidelines as the Attorney General or his designee may establish. So notice that the above paragraph does not say by invitation of the state, but says by the employing agency. Once the feds are involved, they always hold jurisdiction. This is serious. They could establish a legal precedence for justification of a police state once the court rules that the states have given up their right to jurisdiction under this act. Notice that it only involves crimes of a political nature. Businesses are required to report all cash transactions of $10,000 or more. Section 60,501-IRS. It has been reported to me, but not verified by me, that this requirement has been lowered to $3,000. This has nothing to do with drugs, but has everything to do with the IRS. The Act establishes a requirement to record and verify the idea of a purchaser of a money order or other financial instruments of $3,000 or more. Section 6184/5325. Why? This is a big one. The Act orders a study to be made on whether to withdraw 100 bills and 50 bills from circulation. $100 bills and $50 bills from circulation. Section 6187. This would virtually propel us into the cashless society. $23 million has been allocated for a machine-readable identity document program. The excuse used is to be able to identify known criminals who attempt to cross borders. The type of borders is not named, which is required in legislation, and could be the border of your city, county, or state. It also raises the question of how are they going to get the criminals to accept the identity document program without requiring all citizens to participate. Section 4604. The data pool will be shared by Drug Enforcement Administration, FBI, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, IRS, Federal Aviation Commission, U.S. Marshal Service, and the U.S. Coast Guard. The Act requires a study of the feasibility of requiring aircraft to carry operating transponders so that they can be tracked. Section 7212. Including the intercept. The use of military aircraft is assumed due to the fact that the military is the only agency which has such capability of any aircraft not in a proper flight corridor, Section 7213. The Act requires a study to be made on requiring onboard monitoring devices on commercial motor vehicles to record speed, driving time, and other information, Section 9101. It further requires the utilization of existing government laboratory facilities, Department of Defense, Justice, Energy, National Security Agency, CIA, and FBI, to develop technologies for federal law enforcement, not limited to drug enforcement, Section 6163 and 7605. This would include night vision, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, ground sensor and communication electronics, Fort Mon, New Jersey, sorry, it's cut out, part of the ink is missing, physical electronic security, Hanscom Field, Massachusetts, imaging electronic surveillance, CIA and NSA in Washington, D.C., chemical biosensor research and development, Aberdeen, Maryland, chemical molecular research, Albuquerque, New Mexico, physical electronic surveillance and tracking, FBI, Washington, D.C., and explosive ordnance detection, Indian Head, Maryland. The Act calls for the expenditure of $120 million for the Bureau of Justice Statistics, a national clearinghouse of data from federal, state, and local criminal justice agencies, Section 6092. Grant money will be made available for state and local agencies to hook into the data system, Section 6101, 1301. Gun sellers will have to check for a buyer's police records, Section 6213. We already see that. The Act includes a special note from the Attorney General to include domestic violence information in the system, Section 7609. My sources have informed me that the New World Order plans to execute any person who has exhibited any degree of violence during their life. A fist fight while in the service would qualify you. They believe that violence is hereditary, and this could mean execution of family members as well. This act calls for a study of the feasibility of establishing an international criminal court, or world court, Section 4108. An international criminal court would have no jurisdiction or authority over any citizen of the United States of America unless we surrender our sovereignty to the New World Order. We're already seeing all that unfold, guys. No weapons are to be allowed in federal buildings, up to 1 year imprisonment for carrying a weapon in any federal facility. The only exception is a pocket knife, but only if the blade is less than 2.5 inches long, Section 6215. The Act has authorized postal authorities to serve warrants, subpoenas, make arrests, carry firearms, and make seizures in matters involving use of mails, Section 6251. The Post Office Department is a private corporation and is not part of the federal government. How can they be allowed to function as federal police if they are not federalized? Are post office employees destined to become a part of the National Police Force? It is now illegal to mail or send locksmithing equipment to anyone but a locksmith, Section 3002. Many common tools can be classified as locksmithing equipment. The Act legalizes the arming of aircraft in other countries for defensive purposes and drug control, Section 4202. Say again, if this had been in existence a few years ago, the Iran-Contra affair would have been legal with only a statement that the arms were for defensive purposes and drug control. We're seeing that all over the place, too. The Act mandates that military installations are used as mental treatment centers or prison camps with work programs, Section 7302 and 2081/561. Does this sound like Russia? In addition, $200 million will go for new prisons, Section 6157. Plus, the proceeds from seized and forfeited property are to be used for construction of prisons. Rewards for information or help, or for other things, the Attorney General need not report, Section 6072, 524, Title 20-CIA-H. The Act states that prison industries may borrow and invest funds, Section 7093. Prison industries may diversify their products and produce products on an economic basis, Section 7096. To provide a labor pool, Soviet Union style, it authorizes a study of the feasibility of requiring prisoners to pay their costs for food, housing, and shelter at paid employment before, during, or after imprisonment, Section 7301. In other words, it means imprisonment, Soviet style, presented in what sounds like a nice idea. A labor camp where men and women are worked to death is only that and nothing more or less, no matter what they call it or how attractive they make it sound. Prisons going into business to produce products on an economic basis can only serve to destroy the last remnants of small business. This law is 366 pages of very small print. I am sure that as carefully as I read it, I still must have missed many other terrible clauses. Congressmen have been known to deny knowledge of this law, and some have stated that it does not exist because they are terrified of the public finding out what they have done. When I first warned the nation about this legislation on talk radio across the country, the government pulled all copies not already in public hands. The government states that there are no copies available and that and there will not be any copies available. This act is too large to include in this book. You will find it in your library, though, exactly as I have stated at the beginning of this chapter. Please look it up yourself to verify that it is indeed real. Sources: Public Law 100-690, U.S. Code Congressional Administrative News, Volume 3, 1988, with amendment and voting information in the Congressional Quarterly Almanac, Volume XL1V, 1988. Everything in that chapter has pretty much already come to fruition. This is ridiculous. Bill Cooper's the man. I am super sorry that it took me so long to get out that chapter. I will get out the next chapter within a few days, I promise. I'm trying to get this out for you guys, especially before the election and everything. Quick. I just had unexpected family come in, like one right after the other. It was a whole thing, and all of a sudden, boom, 2 months went by. So I'm super sorry. I will be getting these out faster for you guys. I hope everybody's taking care and paying attention, because it's a lot going on. Anyways, guys, have a great day.